No, so I don't think the families.
Got dang Murray Island over there.
I know.
No, that's what I thought. Just like they're by themselves.
Yeah.
With all his friends.
Yeah, there you go. They want to tell you about maybe your showering schedule.
Right,
you know.
right. Like every day at least.
Increase
once,
a little bit.
right? Right. Today was even shower day. I don't get
Oh,
it.
no kidding? Maybe so. That might help.
Yeah. Seems like a big ask.
Yeah.
Everybody ready? Meeting will come to order. It's Montcalm County Board of Commissioners, regular meeting for Monday, March 24th. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Chairman Peterson.
I don't see Pastor Dennis Ross today, so you guys are stuck with me again. If you bow your heads and join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you be with us today as we go forth with the county's agenda and guide us through decision making as we have a pretty full agenda today. We ask that you watch over us as we go through our normal lives and everyone here. Dear Lord, we'd like to thank you for bringing Commissioner Johnston's wife home safe and happy, well, as happy as she can be with Commissioner Johnston. And we ask that that continues to improve and everybody is safe, happy, and humble. In your name we pray. Amen.
Roll call.
Alexander.
Here.
Johnston.
Here.
Peterson.
Yes, ma'am.
Painter. Mahar. Carr.
Yes.
And Murray.
Here. We have a quorum. On today's agenda, I don't have any changes. Does anyone else?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston,
move to approve our agenda as presented.
support. It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as presented. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Everyone have a copy of the meeting minutes of the last meeting, March 10th, 2025.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston,
I would move to approve the minutes from our March 10th, 2025 regular board meeting as presented.
Support.
it's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the last regular meeting, March 10th, 2025 as presented. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments. I will point out that if you're here to discuss the appeal at Crystal Lake, there'll be a public hearing open shortly, and there'll be a place in that for anyone to make comment that wishes to. But you're welcome to comment here as well, so.
Good evening. I work for the Mid-Michigan District Health Department, and I'm part of the health and wellness team that's there. A month ago or so, a group of 10 people came to thank you commissioners for the dollars that you've given to the community. And I wanted to follow up on that to show you one of the things that we've done with some of that money. Over the last 2.5 years, we had really tried to work on figuring out how to get Narcan into the community, how to destigmatize potential drug use. And whenever we ask people, do you want some Narcan? We always heard, I don't know anybody that uses narcotics and opioids in my home. I don't need that. So we talked, and as a community and a group of people, we decided to insert Narcan in first aid kits and market it as a first aid product. So over the last 2.5 years, we've given out over 3,500 first aid kits that have included Narcan within the community, which is huge. When we started out, that we would ask people, and 5 out of 10 said, no, I didn't need that. We really had to start talking to people about saying, if your grandkids come over and you've dropped a pill on the floor and they get it, you can use Narcan on them. We've had to say, if your dog gets into your pill bottle when you're gone out of the house and they use it, you can use Narcan on them also to revive them. We have heard statistics recently that out of every 136 uses of Narcan that are given out, it saves a person. So out of our 3,500, we would be about 30, 35 people. I've heard that number as low as 76. So then we're up into almost the 50s of people that we may have saved within the community. The other thing that we push on those that use is never drug alone. And I know that we don't want to condone it, but we also don't want to push harm on those that are going to choose that lifestyle. So again, I just wanted to come. I wanted to thank you for the dollars that you give out to the community, and it really is making a difference even though you don't see it every day. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
And I do have first aid kits for all of you.
Oh, thank you.
Heck yeah.
If there's no other public comments, our 405 agenda item is a public hearing to discuss an appeal to the construction ordinance. Are the Kenyans here? You want to come up?
Do you need a motion to
Yeah,
open the public hearing?
Yep.
I so move.
support. It's been moved and supported to open a public hearing for the purpose of discussing an appeal to the construction ordinance. Discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Welcome.
Thank you.
You want to just give us a overview of what you're asking for?
Okay. First of all, Commission, good afternoon, friends, neighbors. My name is Daniel Kenyon. I am the owner of 2167 Straight Toe Boulevard. I come before you today with a request for variance in order to follow the laws of the county has set forth. I feel this is a simple request, as it appears that many times before a variance like this has been granted. This is solely based for my 4 grandchildren. Last year at this time, last year in the summertime, my 2 oldest grandchildren wanted to have a friend come up for a weekend. I had no place to put them. So that is the sole reason for this variance, is now I have an opportunity to grant my grandchildren and possibly some other kids that would never get to experience something like this, a weekend or 2. So we all know about children. My 4 grandchildren range from 9 to 6 right now. Due to school activities, they all play sports. There's summer baseball. So the variance request is probably for the duration of a month and a half or 2 months, probably from the middle of June to probably the 1st of August, when traveling teams start back up and so on and so forth. I'm sure you're all aware of that stuff. So I've owned this property for 27 years now. Never rented, leased, sublet to any individual or company. It's been only for myself and my family purposes. And I never will lease, rent, or anything else. This is mainly for storage, is the main reason behind this, because I'm going to sell my residence at home next year. And quite frankly, folks, I don't know where I'm going to put the stuff I got to home. I can't find spots for. So in that transition period is what will really take place. I understand that we have one dissenting letter, and it appears to me that probably no proof or documentation of my property ever being rented, leased. And that's the reason for this.
Okay. Building department's with us. Phil, what's your take on it?
We looked over the project there. There's really no issues that the building department has with this project, as it doesn't really create any health or safety concerns. It's just not our place to grant a variance for this. That rests on your shoulders.
Okay. Thank you. Any commissioners have a question or comment for Mr. Kenyon?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead,
got a
Commissioner
couple.
Johnston.
just curious, the pink cottage that's in the back, do you own that piece of property also?
Excuse me?
The pink cottage that's behind the garage or?
Yes,
the-
sir.
Do you own that?
No, sir.
So that's a separate lot in there.
That's correct.
Okay. The other question I have is, this variance should have been done before it was ever built. And that's why I'm kind of curious as to why it's coming to us now. If it was going to be living quarters all along, why wasn't that in the original building plans and why didn't we approve that variance before you build it? I guess is my question. I mean, we should have approved a variance to even build it if it was going to be living quarters before we ever started building.
Okay. My apologies for that. The only answer that I have to that is ignorance, not knowing what the rules and the laws of the county were. Spent a lot of time looking online and seeing what I needed to do as far as the variance, talking with some of your staff and people. So I don't have an answer that will satisfy that, with the exception of I didn't know those things at the time. I haven't built a place in almost 50 years now.
I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. What it looks like to me is, let's ask for forgiveness after the fact, not permission to do it to start with. And that's,
Well, that was, I can assure
because
you.
I could tell it was built right from the start with a plan to have living quarters up there with the deck and the sliding doors and everything up there. It wasn't built for storage and then an afterthought that we could have that.
Well, mainly for storage, but I understand what you're saying, but I had no knowledge of that, or I would have came before you at that time, like I'm coming before everybody today. I'm trying to follow the law of the county, and I was never informed that that was a process that needed to take place early in the process.
I mean, I guess the thing I don't understand is if the living quarters and everything were in the original plan that was given to the building department, they would have required you to get a variance before they let you build the second parcel on one piece of property. I would think that's normally what we do. And it's almost like a second residence on one parcel. And that's the whole issue I got about it is, this should have been, it's like we're doing things backwards.
Okay. Sir, all I can tell you is that I followed what the county and builders and so on told me was required. I don't know any more than that, so I'm sorry about
I
that.
mean, this is one of the projects that I would normally just vote yes on because it, like Phil says, it's not causing a big problem and stuff, but I have an issue with that happening, being turned around backwards to me. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peterson?
I have a couple things. First of all, Mr. Kenyon, I don't know if you follow along in the esteemed Daily News publication, but these variances pop up a lot on Crystal Lake, and I vote no on them every single time. And this isn't going to be any different. And the only reason being, not that I agree or disagree, the reason being is I live at 4471 South Greenville Road. That is approximately 25 miles from where you live. I don't believe that I should have any say in what happens in your neighborhood. I believe that Crystal Township should have zoning. This should be a Crystal Township issue. And I don't believe that me personally can say you can or cannot have 2 dwellings, 5 dwellings, 100 dwellings on your property. To be completely honest, I don't even understand what this variance is. Under your letter that's included in our packet and the notice of public meeting, it doesn't say what this variance is. I assume it's for two dwellings on one property.
No, The way I understood it, sir, was that the variance was needed in order to have some overflow room in case I granted my grandchildren the right to bring a friend up or whatever. That was my understanding of it.
Phil, do you
Second
know
dwelling,
what,
yeah, I think it is.
do you know what this variance is for?
We were kind of under the impression that it was going to be for like an accessory dwelling unit. I mean, once it's set up, most likely it's going to have all the plumbing, all the fixtures, everything required for a dwelling unit. Whether that's what he uses it for or not, that's most likely what it's actually going to be.
And in the original construction plans that were submitted, was any of that included in there or?
No.
Okay. And so on the hypothetical chance that we deny this variance, what happens on your guys' end?
Basically, we close out the project as an accessory structure. At that point, there would be nothing inside it. As he said, it would just be for storage. It wouldn't nor
Can you
necessarily,
store kids?
not technically, but
Right.
most likely that's going to happen.
So realistically, we say yes or no, this is just a formality unless the neighbors complain. The neighbors complain, then what happens? We go out there and say, don't do that again?
I guess that would be up to the county sheriff to address it at that point.
Oh,
I'm not really
boy.
sure.
Ooh, yeah.
Well, then we don't even need to talk about this because nothing's going to happen. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate it. That's all I have.
Anyone else? Is the building in question currently a garage?
I'm sorry, sir.
Is the building in question currently being used as a garage? Is it an overhead door where vehicles can be pulled
Yeah.
in?
Yes, it will be.
How long ago did you build that?
The new construction now that we have, that started in,
Date on the plans is
I
23.
think it was mid-fall, mid-October, somewhere in that range.
That's when the whole building was constructed?
That's when it was began, yes, sir.
Okay.
Phil can probably help me out on that a little more. I don't remember the date. I believe it was early October though, from memory.
Commissioner Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a year ago or so, they tore down 2 cottages there.
Yes,
or
sir.
One, and that's when this whole project started. That's all the house that the Peak runs, the opposite of the garage there. That's all been started within the last year or
Oh,
so,
that's
or
all-
year and a half.
All new.
It's all new. Yep.
Okay.
And just to kind of back up what Adam was saying about the zoning part, I'm the only one that lives in the township.
Yeah.
Everybody else is many miles like Greenville and Lakeview. I mean, we're scattered all over the county, so
Mhm.
it's really not fair for those guys. Always have to make these decisions. I don't think either.
Well, it's not only not fair, it's not right. I believe that any red-blooded tax-paying American can do whatever they would like on their property, and that is the absolute fact. But I don't believe that if there is a decision to be made, that I'm the one that needs to make it because I don't live there. I drive through there once a week on Saturdays to go to the racetrack. That's about it.
Is it a little bit of an odd shaped lot to be the pink cottage? It belongs to someone else.
Correct.
So you've got a house and a garage that kind of surround another smaller parcel on the lake. Is that,
These haven't, the layout has not changed. My smaller cottage was where the garage was, but I never had a place to park a vehicle.
right?
And with moving up here with winter weather and all of that, I'm not going to be able to have my wife leave a car out, and what we used to have was just grass. So,
Is that
um,
all one parcel of land?
I'm sorry.
Is it all one parcel that all your buildings set on, or is it
Yes,
multiple?
no, it's all one.
It used to be separate, and they've combined them, I believe, when it was.
That's correct. They were combined, year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe. from memory.
On page 8, it
Yeah,
shows the
Tinley's
original
drawing
lot
says
line.
2023.
Yeah. Well, remind the audience, we're in a public hearing for the purpose of discussing this variance. Is there anyone in the audience that has a question or a comment?
Sarah Daly, neighbor on the other side of the road and access from the Kenyans. I also am a proponent of personal property rights. And with Crystal the way it is, and as many ADUs that are above garages, I don't see how, without some sort of rules laid down, that can't be, that this should be any different. I mean, it doesn't change the way things are. It is the lake party area, and all the grandkids do come up on the weekends. So as long as nobody's complaining about my chickens, I don't care about extra kids.
Chickens.
Just wait.
How much do you sell eggs for?
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's Alan Jones. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife, Mary, who is the owner of the neighbor immediately to the east of the Kenyans. I'm here to speak in support of the Kenyans' request for this variance or this exception. I do agree with Ms. Daly in what she said. I believe that approval would, rather than create a variance, would create a consistency with the use of and enjoyment of the properties in that area. Typically, of 10 or 12 cottages or structures in that area, I would venture to say that virtually all of them enjoy three and four generational visitations, which is, I believe, consistent with the entire community, everything in the around the lake there. So I believe that allowing this is, I would rather see it as being allowed in the ordinances rather than having to be an exception or a variance, because that is consistent with the use and enjoyment of ownership of a property there at Crystal Lake. Our family is particularly appreciative of the generational use of the area and encouraging visitation. 100 years ago, Mary's great aunt entertained her great grandparents. As a result of that, 3 of the 12 structures that I mentioned came to be right in our little area. As that visitation grew into ownership, and as that ownership grew into property taxes, I would encourage approval of the request. It's my belief that variances and exceptions are written in to the ordinances specifically, not just to allow, but to actually encourage common sense use and lessened restrictions of our ordinances. And I believe that approval would actually promote the healthy and attractive use of the properties in that area. And ultimately, it would be for the good of the community and the good of everyone who lives there.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question or a comment on this appeal? Anyone else on the commission have anything?
Yeah,
Commissioner
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just have a question for the rest of the commissioners and anybody else with knowledge. Is this something we've granted a variance for in the past? Because most of the ones that come seem like they're more like the setbacks, or I haven't actually heard one for a second dwelling, so I was just curious. It's pretty common.
I don't think we've ever denied one.
It's not as common, but
Okay.
When?
had
No,
Oh,
I'm saying. You're
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
right.
We've never denied one in the past.
no, we've always just kind of let Crystal do what it is. I know there's been talked about before that someday I'm sure that with houses 6 inches away from one another and, you know, roads or houses close to roads, who knows what's going to happen, but we don't ever deny them.
well, we did one, what, a year ago, 8 months ago on the opposite side of the lake before construction.
Up on Peterman.
Mm-hmm. Then we did one in Bushnell Township a couple years ago.
Saying we denied it?
No,
Oh,
No.
but those are the
approved
only two that I
multi-dwelling?
remember
Yeah.
of this nature.
Well, at the end of the day, talking with Phil, even if we deny it, no offense to Mr. Kenyon, but he can just say, okay, thanks, and do it anyway.
And for what it's worth, Mike and I have had discussions. He would like to get rid of our ordinance and just go by the state's building code. I
Then
mean,
they'd
he
have to
came us
appeal to the
once.
state.
No, we would just enforce the state's building code.
Well, doesn't, I mean, we're pulling a deputy out of Crystal, so it doesn't sound like we're gonna be enforcing anything over there. So I don't have one problem with this, because even if we say no, he can do it, and there isn't gonna be anybody that's gonna hold him to the variance. I don't believe. We got a prosecutor that doesn't wanna do anything with ordinances, and we're pulling deputies out of there, so tell them not to bother anymore. They can just do whatever they want. Make them 7 stories high. And
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
I just want to go back and say I'm not opposed to this project at all. I mean, it's nice looking. I've seen it many times. I drive by it every day and stuff. It's just, I don't want to see people go in the building department and asking for a building permit for a certain thing, and then after it happens, being something else. I want to get that clear up front, that I hate to see this become common practice, that people, like, instead of asking for permission, they ask for forgiveness after they do something, and I just don't want to see that happen. But this project, it's beautiful over there. There's no doubt about that.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I get my concern lies a lot with what Commissioner Johnson was saying. Yeah, a permit was issued to build a certain structure, and then a different structure got built. You know, things were added into it that were not covered under the original permit. And I mean, that's a little troublesome. It seems like there should have been some, I don't know if there's inspections being done, or if there's, I mean, certainly if you changed what you were going to build, common sense or logic would dictate that if I got permission to do this and now I'm not doing this, I'm changing what I'm doing. I probably need to check in on that, you know, to get the proper permit for the proper project. Now, that being said, I don't think the government should tell you what you can do on your own property. I think you should be able to do whatever you want. But unfortunately, that's not the way that the laws and the code works right now. I don't have a single problem with this project at all. Judging by the pictures that I see, it looks absolutely beautiful. It looks like you've done a great job. And as a grandfather, I can absolutely relate to the fact that I would want to have a place for my grandkids to come and stay to if I had a place on a lake. So it is a little troublesome to me that we issued a permit for one thing and something else got built. That sticks in my craw a little.
Well, in defense of the building department, it's probably why we're here, was an inspection was done
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
things were caught.
Oh, and I wasn't trying to be critical. I was just, the system of checks and balances, something caught somewhere,
Mhm.
and here we are.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there quite a few permits avoided by, like, plumbing permits and all that stuff, like going the route that happened? I mean, should there have been more plumbing
Yeah.
inspections, electrical inspections, that type of stuff that should have happened?
I would have to check, 'cause most likely he's already got some of the plumbing permits and those things on that accessory building at this point. I'm really not sure on that part. If not, it will require them.
Okay, that'd be the only thing I think that they ought to have to pull the permits for the extra or whatever, if there is extra permits, because it's not fair for everybody else that built to have to pull all those permits and
And of
then
course,
allow
there's-
this one to just go without it.
there's difference in cost fees from an accessory building than there is to a new residence for square footage also. So there may be additional fees and things involved in that.
Okay.
Okay,
I'd move to close the public hearing.
Support.
it's been moved and supported to close the public hearing. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. What's your pleasure,
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston?
I would move to approve the construction variance.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to grant the appeal and approve the construction variance for the canyons on Crystal Lake. Discussion.
Commissioner Chair.
Yep.
Should there be something in there that can we put something in there to approve it? Just providing that we have the proper permitting and all that as well.
Sure. I think so.
We can put it in there. Not gonna be enforced.
Hey, that's due diligence
I
though.
want to put in there that he has to have a rocket pad in the front yard.
Is that all right with the mover and the
Yeah.
support?
So what's the motion?
That we grant the appeal or the
Variance.
variance for the construction ordinance, based on them having all the proper permits to move forward from the building department. Discussion? If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Up next, our 4:15, we have the Road Commission Superintendent Rob Putnam with us. Give us an update on the funding that we granted some time ago.
Oh, man. I didn't get my afternoon coffee and I am just dragging.
Everybody leaves.
Yeah.
Back to Murray showering.
All right. Everybody leaving.
Oh, yeah.
Ridiculous.
All right. I'm Rob Putnam, the Managing Director at the Road Commission for anybody that, or newly Managing Director at the Road Commission. So just wanted to come give the board a little update on the match program. So all 20 townships are going to take advantage of the $100,000 match, which was, it's been great. Hit the ground running in January with my engineer staff, and we went to all the townships, kind of laid out how this program is going to work, and they were all in. We've actually had probably half the townships are going to go over and above what that match is. So just kind of wanted to give you some numbers. We're going to do 143 miles of chip seal in the county this year, which is about 40 miles more than we did last year, which was our most ever. So, and 90 miles of that will be on the local system within the townships. We're going to crush and shape 5.5 miles in local roads, which is way up compared to what we usually do in the local system because it's so costly. So that extra money, I think, really helped a few townships push them over the edge to get that work done. We're doing 10.5 miles overlay just on the local system, and we're doing 18 miles of primary overlay in the system. And some of that is chip overlay. We've tried that a couple years ago, had really good success with it. So we're doing quite a bit of that this year on the county system. We're going to do approximately 18.5 miles of natural gravel in the townships. Could go up, could go down. We haven't got all the township contracts back, but that's kind of like where we're sitting right now. And 8 miles of limestone within the townships. So all of that work does not include brush spraying. We didn't allow them to use that money towards brush spraying, ditching contracts, chloride. So it was pretty much all preventative maintenance for the roads or new construction. So, but, and the road commission's also going to do 4 miles of center line in each township. So it's, right now we're sitting approximately $7 million just road work in the county this year, plus a $2.2 million bridge project up in Richland Township on Tamarack Road. So over $9 million just in Montcalm County will be spent on roads this year. So, you know, the citizens of the county should see a wide variety of work to be done. And, you know, thanks again, that money really helped a lot of townships get to do some extra work and much needed work. So.
No, good. That sounds encouraging. Anyone have any questions for Rob?
No, I just a comment. I talked to a couple of my townships I was at last week, and they're very happy with how it's working out in their Bloomer Township, and everyone. They thank us for the help. And
Yeah, it's like I said, it's, you know, there's a few townships that had some roads that really needed some work, and they just, you know, it was going to be a long time for them to get it done, and this money kind of really helped take care of some of the really bad ones in the county. So
And you'll get that all done this summer?
we will.
Hopefully
Yep.
we can do it again sometime.
Yep.
You want to give them the MDOT projects?
The MDOT project we're doing, or that MDOT is doing this year, they got 2 in the county. M57 is going to be a chip seal project from 66 all the way to Carson City. There'll be some wedging and a guardrail upgrade. And the biggest, if anybody travels 131, they are updating a county drain and putting in, so it's going to be 1 lane north and south down by Pearson. And that's going to be fun all summer. It's going to be a traffic nightmare is what it's going to be, 1 lane on the holidays. But that is the road work on the MDOT system. We are going to chip through town here. We will do that for the MDOT. But that'll be the other little thing that we do for MDOT this year.
Hey, Rob, I guess I have 2 questions.
All right.
Okay, one, how has the transition been? Been good? You know,
The
stepping in?
transition's been great. You know, I honestly, we kind of hit the ground running, did a few different things that I wanted to try. It's been the township, like I said, I took the engineer staff with me this year so we could lay the program out. Really good communication, I felt, with all the townships. We have a great staff. I have an awesome administrative staff, and we've tried a few new things with our communication and different things this winter. Really excited to see how it works this summer because it worked great this winter. So, but you know, you're only as good as the people that work, and I have great staff that we've kind of hit the ground running and continue to build on what was started. So,
Okay, and then the next thing, this is kind of talking about it because I get some pushback from a village in my area, but would you guys be willing to do a similar thing for villages and cities? if
We
were to
would,
put
and
up money.
100% we would. I mean, this year, obviously, it's probably past that point, you know,
Yeah,
with getting the stuff.
exactly.
But I know we're doing Lyman Road working with the village of Edmore this year. I know Howard City, one that you're in, is wanting to do some pretty major road work. So, yeah, we'd absolutely. I mean, love to work with the village and townships. We're actually doing a few contracts for a couple of them that are wanting some work this year, smaller work. But yeah, I would be all about working with townships or the villages and cities.
Thanks.
Yep.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
Isn't the legislature talking about funding right now? They're going to push more funding to the cities and villages?
Yeah,
Isn't that part of it?
so the House just introduced a $3.1 billion package and part of that was to change how we receive our MTF money. And it would be less money going to MDOT, more to the local system. Of course, it's got to go through the Senate. That's,
Yeah.
Democrat, but there is definitely a big push in Lansing to do some type of road funding. I think this year we'll see it at some point. To what extent, not sure, but I mean, 3.1 billion would be, probably another 10 million for this county for that. So Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know it's all of a sudden jumped up the list and it's a top priority for them in Lansing. Well, I'm actually going to CRA conference tomorrow, and there's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of more information that we'll hear down there at that conference. So
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Rob.
Good work.
Big Gretch is finally fixing them damn roads.
Number 4:30, Doug's with us, the Director of Building Grounds, and has an update on the jail and the Commission on Aging project request. Welcome, Doug.
So I guess the first one is our jail countertops, where it's rolled up. So we had submitted to a few different companies, actually 5 different lumber yards, hoping to get some interest into this countertops because the way that works is they basically deal with the countertop companies that do the court style stuff. So we did that, only had one show up, but we did have a separate contractor that does the courts work contact us a couple days after our walkthrough. So that's why we only have 2 bids. A couple of them said they couldn't meet the insurance requirements. A couple of them said they just felt it was too much hassle for the amount of countertop we were doing. So, so that's where we're at. We had 2 bids. We did budget in our conversation, I believe last meeting, we talked about roughly 23,000. Our low bid is under that. So I kind of left my proposed motion up to you guys as to how to fill it in.
Mr. Chairman,
Where's the
Commissioner
Nardo?
Peterson.
Doug, I mean, do you have one preference over the other? I know we like to keep the money local, but I see that Carson City Lumber didn't have the tear out included, and Leonardo's is actually a quartz contractor.
I was leaning towards Leonardo's. I know you guys like to work in county, as do I, but we're looking at $3,000 plus over Leonardo's. So I kind of looked at it as that's all just clear profit almost in their pocket because they're not going to do much, Carson City Lumber, other than be a middleman.
Right, because they wouldn't have this. They wouldn't have the people to come in and do it.
Right.
They might even contract with Leonardo's.
Could be, yeah. I don't know who their contractor was.
Where's Wixom? Is that down by Detroit?
Just past Lansing, kind of, or partway between, right on 196.
It's wild they can come all that way for $3,000 less.
I don't know. Let's hope there's not a change order in midstream.
Well, and these companies, they're specialized, so I'm sure that they're used to traveling.
Right. And they'll do it all in
Especially if
one
they do
go.
commercial work.
And they're okay with going into a jail setting?
Yep, they understand. They actually came up and looked at the project, so they know exactly what they're up against.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
I
Peterson.
would move to accept the bid of Leonardo's for the amount not to exceed $22,021.00 to replace countertops in the jail intake and control rooms.
Order. Been moved and supported. Discussion. And this is a quartz, solid quartz, not an
Correct.
overlay or anything.
Going to be 3/4 inch thick. They're going to build up the edges a little bit, make them about 2.5 inches thick for a little more support, a little more endurance. That seems to be where most of the abuse is at.
It just seems odd.
Well, if you got to bounce a perp's face off of something, it's got to be hard, you know?
It's like the other has been used for the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's all teeth marks. This won't show teeth marks.
Right.
I'm also pushing for chairs with no arms because that's where 90% of the damage comes from.
Yeah,
I'm getting a lot of pushback on that, but.
can't imagine why. As I'm leaning on the arm on my chair right now.
Yep.
If there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Aye. Motion carried.
All right, thank you. The next one is for the COA flooring, replacing all the carpet, 99% of the carpet with vinyl plank, similar to what we have in the dining room area already. And then one small area technically what they call that room, the exercise room, we'll call it, replacing that carpet with carpet squares. So of our 3 contractors that did come to the walkthrough, all 3 bid, and the low bid was Millard Furniture. So that was who I suggested we use. Everybody had everything needed to do the project. So there's no discrepancies there, just that they are the low and they are the locals. So
Brenda, would this come out of their fund balance? The COAs?
Not necessarily. You'd have to make that determination, I guess.
Is that something they were planning on, or are they just planning on us bringing it out of capital improvements?
I think it was, I don't know that Commission on Aging was planning on it. I don't think it was planned to come out of their budget.
Okay, so it's supposed
We
to come out of
assumed
capital.
capital improvements, yeah.
Well, I was out there 2 weeks ago. I was a prestigious judge of a pie contest. I don't like to brag or anything. I mean, the carpet did look, it did look a little worn. And I was very surprised at the amount of people there. There was a lot of seniors there eating lunch. And then they started like banging their forks on the table to get pie and stuff. It was wild. We had to really hurry.
He's embellishing that story.
No, I mean, they were like, there was like a little old man that kept popping in and was like, "Is the pie ready yet? Are we going to have pie or what? I'm ready to go home." It was intimidating. That is not, I wish I could make that up. He was upset. Like, "Where's the pie?" And that's how he sounded. So so 23,565, is that to do everything? I guess I didn't.
yes, pretty much everything that hasn't been already done. We did the dining room and one hallway back, 21, I believe. So this is just going to be finishing up the rest of the project. All the offices, all the hallways, everything but the break room that already has a tile floor. If you notice, we have the alternate price that was for restrooms, but for what the numbers came in at, might as well get it done while they're there because they will need it down the road anyways. So
And we have enough money in capital improvements, correct, Brenda?
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
you got fund balance.
I would move to accept the Millards Furniture bid for a total not to exceed $23,565.25.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Doug.
thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I didn't say we need to take that out of capital improvements.
Yeah, I think it was.
I think everyone, implied
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Our 440, Pamela Schock is with us, Commission on Aging Director for a fiscal year 2026 funding request.
Pamela, who was it that was wandering around upset about not having pie? Oh, okay. See, but it did happen. It did happen.
It did
I'm saying
She's not throwing anybody under the
Well, that's
bus.
fine. I get that, but I'm just saying I'm not making it up. He was upset.
Well, it was serious.
I know.
Out of
Serious.
schedule,
business.
man.
That's good
Pie.
pie. Yeah.
You don't know it was good pie.
Any pie's good pie.
And it was, yeah, it was. They were all good.
So I'm here to seek approval for signature for our continuation of funding for Area Agency on Aging in Western Michigan. Our funding request has been made and we just need the signature. This year we've requested flat funding. It's pretty basic.
So no increase, no decrease.
No. So we were advised against seeking any additional funding because they said that we would either receive flat funding or there's a possibility of decreased funding this year. So yes, we could request more, but we would either get what we're getting or it's quite a big possibility that we might get decreased.
And Pamela, this is something we do every year, correct? With
Yes.
area.
So would the decrease in funding be because of what's going on at the federal level? Trickle down effect.
Yes. And therefore, we would rely on our millage and our donations.
Yeah, I just came from the meeting, the Area Agency on Aging of West Michigan, and they said it's not only a trickle down on the federal government, but also the state, their new plan. They're not really sure, but they said the biggest thing that we can all do is just advocacy for support of it.
It's
So,
huge.
yep.
So even with this request of flat funding doesn't guarantee that you'll get that. You still could be
There is no
cut.
guarantee, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peterson.
I'd move to grant approval for the signature on the proposed AAA for fiscal year 2026 continuation of funding requests in accordance with I can't even do it, with the older American Acts,
Support.
with accordance. Oof.
It's been moved and supported. Discussion. If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tongue hurts.
Our 450, Eric Smith, Emergency Services Director, is here for a couple things. Welcome.
Couple things. First of all, don't tell Doug to put my arms on the chair.
Cut them off.
I just turned 50 a few weeks ago, so I'm kind of disappointed I didn't get invited for pie because I think I should qualify now.
Nope.
Sign him up
Sorry
as a
about
judge
it.
for next year.
No, I've already solidified my spot.
So a couple things. One, our emergency operations plan that we have to review and renew every 4 years is up for renewal about a year from now. The template has changed from an emergency operations plan to emergency action guidelines, which probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you guys, but one thing that does mean something to you guys is now the county government section needs to identify 3 people in line of succession. So currently it specifies the board chair and the vice chair. There is no third. The new emergency action guidelines need to identify a third person in there. Not something that has to be identified today, something that you need to be thinking about and something that you need to decide somewhere in the not terribly distant future so we can get the plan uploaded and updated. So when the time is ready, it's ready and we don't have any pushback from the state. So
Does that need to be another elected commissioner or a county employee?
I believe it can be anyone. I would probably caution you on appointing someone who has other duties within the plan already
Right.
that might be busy in the case of a disaster already.
Okay. Makes sense.
But I don't think it has to be a commissioner. I think it can be anybody.
Okay.
So that's something to be thinking about and going forward. I can come back and we can talk more sometime down the road, or you guys can just decide sometime and I can just add it to the plan. Either way, piece of cake.
Put that on our agenda or on our list of things to accomplish to knock that out sometime
Okay.
in the next
Couple
6 months or so.
Hopefully it never comes to where we need the third person in succession, but we do need to identify one in case it does ever happen.
Seems like years ago, we went at least that deep on it.
So all of the annexes do go 3 deep,
Mhm.
but this was specific to the county government section in the new EAG.
What's the third in the annexes?
I don't know that.
Well, there's different annexes
Yeah,
for
so like
different
there's
areas.
public health has one, schools have one, police have one, fire has one, hospitals, et cetera. So each discipline has its own annex. And within that discipline, they've identified 3 people who is going to report to the EOC to kind of help run the incident if needed.
Would the county controller make sense to put in that third?
Public information officer.
So yes and no. It would make perfect sense from an operational standpoint, but she is the public information officer too. So if it was big enough that we needed her to do one, it might be a struggle to do both.
So what position would we look at? I'm sure the sheriff would be busy. You would be busy.
Yeah, I think
We just have to go 3 deep on the commissioners, figure out a third person after the chair and the vice chair.
probably if I was gonna pick one, I probably would pick Charlie, just because I know he's probably fairly up to date on what's happening in the county, and he certainly ought to be up to date on the ICS structure, given what he did for a living for 25, 30 years, et cetera.
How do we specify that when we don't know if Charlie's going to be here in
Right,
2 years?
right, yeah, and I don't know. And, I guess an option could simply be a commissioner. I don't know, because
The
it
rest
says.
of the board of commissioners?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
it might be, because there's always the potential that if something happens, we might have a small child go missing on Christmas Day and everybody's gone. And we might not have even our third option available. So, and like I said, it doesn't have to be decided today, but
yeah.
something to think about. It does need to be decided at some point.
Like I said about Charlie maybe not being here, who says their chair's gonna get reelected or you're gonna get reelected?
Well, that's just the,
Those are
that's just
titles,
the,
too.
that's just the
They can change
position.
every time we have
Yeah,
elections.
and
That's
those
what I
are
was wondering.
titles.
If you name a district
Right.
commissioner, is
But the
that third
districts
one?
might change too.
I don't know. That
We
could
can't
change in
do-
10 years too.
Can't do 5. It might be down to 3 here soon.
Who chairs collective bargaining?
Me.
Well, what's that idea?
Could we do a commissioner based on what committee they're on? No. Who's on the EMAC committee? I guess it's supposed to be you and
We took-
Pat.
Yeah. Well, we're on Central Dispatch. Pat, I am Eric.
EMAC.
EMAC, we took commissioners off from, and I go to
Oh
it.
yeah. Yeah, that's
Let me see if I can find my spreadsheet here.
Well, we've got 6 months or so to think about it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be fine. As long as we have the plan done by the end of the year, we'll be fine. The other thing I want to talk about is ventilators. You may or may not know, but all of our ambulances now have ventilators on them. The company that manufactures the ventilators that we currently have has been bought out by one of their competitors who bought the company to shut it down. So we can't get the ventilators that we have now anymore, which is kind of problematic because tomorrow the 3 new ambulances are being delivered that we can't get ventilators for. What's even more problematic is the existing ventilators that we have, we can't get parts for, and we can't really get them worked on because the manufacturer has been shut down by the competitor that bought them out. So we have to pick a path going forward relating to ventilators. There's a few different options. I'll have pros, I'll have cons. The one that makes the most sense is to simply replace them all now. If we do that, then it's going to be an unplanned expenditure, which is why I'm here, because we didn't budget for it. So assuming we're going to end up over budget at the end of the year, then it's going to be a fund balance thing. The reasons for doing it all at once, there's a few. For one, if we make a wholesale change all at once, then we don't have to stock all the consumables for multiple different ventilators. Our staff doesn't have to be proficient in multiple different ventilators. They'll all be the same. And if we do buy 10 or more, we don't get a break on the price of the ventilator, but we get a break on the price of all the consumables for the life of the ventilators. So I put the numbers in the agenda request there. That was a savings of like $50 a use or something, pretty significant if we do buy 10 or more. So over the life, I would expect that would probably get us a couple free ventilators. So it's kind of a big cost. It's not something we planned on. We have fund balance. We can do it. It's not going to hurt us. So that's kind of the direction that makes the most sense to go, is just to do it all at once. And if once we do pull the trigger, they tell us that they're 4 to 6 weeks out on making the ventilators, getting us the ventilators, and then we'd have to have a couple more weeks. They come here and train us. The company that we want to go with is Hamilton. They're in Reno, Nevada. It's a mom and pop company. It's not like it's some big company that's offshore or something like that. It's 3rd generation people. They've got proprietary stuff, so other people can't really rip them off. The only way that anything can change is for them to sell the company. And the old man that started the company is still around, still kind of running the company. And he said, over my dead body, are you selling the company? So at least I guess until he becomes a dead body, we're safe.
What do you do with the new ambulances that won't have one?
For now, what we're doing, because we have like 3 of the current ventilators aren't operational. So right now everybody's coming in, and if their truck doesn't have one, we're moving them around every day.
It's a drag.
So that's obviously less than ideal for lots of reasons, but
No, I don't see we have any option other than to buy them all. I mean, people have overwhelmingly supported the
EMS
millage and they didn't do it.
Well,
So we
and
could
Eric has,
keep Charlie on the equipment. So
yeah, you have plenty of fund balance to cover this.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peterson.
I've moved to allow EMS to purchase 14 Hamilton ventilators using fund balance as necessary. Support.
It's been moved and supported, allow EMS to purchase 14 Hamilton ventilators using fund balance as necessary. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carried.
just curious what the trade-in value of the ones that we have. Do we have any idea what that's going to be?
it's going to be close to nothing. If we're lucky, we might get like $500 because they're just going to take them and throw them away.
Is that something that could be donated to a?
I wonder if there's
Training
another
or something like
unit that
that?
would buy them from us, like
So-
another ambulance unit.
Probably not. And the reason I say probably not is Friday when I was in Howell for the state EMS meeting, the state has hundreds of the previous generation of the same ventilator that they're looking to give away to anyone who will take. So I'm guessing we wouldn't have super great luck selling them
Oh, I was
when the state's trying to give them away as fast as they can.
I was thinking more towards, give them to like training facilities and that.
Yeah,
kind of
and
stuff,
that's,
or-
yeah, and the state's targeting all of those people to try to give them away. So
Very good.
our best luck getting rid of them is going to be if they'll give us a few bucks on trade or take us to lunch or whatever for
Right.
trade. And I don't know. But that's where we're at. All right. Thanks, guys.
Sorry. That ends the agenda items. Next is correspondence. Vice Chairman Peterson with tonight's correspondence. please.
All right, correspondence starts on page 49, the hearing of appointed department directors policy request. That can be found starting on page 50. Just, I think pretty much everybody that's here right now was there.
Mhm. We need to do that
So,
I just didn't think we did it.
what's that?
Oh, under committee reports, we pushed that committee report to tonight.
Right.
Do we want to table this until we can get through that
Approve
committee?
those.
I don't think there's any tabling needed. I mean, we can just read the minutes of the committee report and then
Come back to this.
I guess, can't we just make a motion out of the committee reports and
Yeah.
adopt it that way?
Yeah.
Well, I
Unless,
think it's just approving those minutes is what I always point out. We didn't get to approve those minutes, but
Oh, got to approve the minutes before we can. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know which order. you
yeah,
wanna
we'll
do 'em
just,
in,
we'll
but
just do it that way. What do you think,
What do you think, Chris?
Probably
Madam
better.
Clerk?
Probably better approve the minutes before you take any action.
Roger that. Well, I'm gonna move to number 2 then, since you guys are dragging your feet. Second up, Brownfield Redevelopment Authority appointment request. That starts on page 52. The Montcalm County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority has recommended the reappointment of Mark Borden, Village of Edmore Manager, with a term to expire December 31st, 2027. If nobody has any contention to that, I will make the motion to approve the appointment of Mark Borden to the Montcalm County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority with a term to expire December 31st, 2027.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, next up is the Animal Control Department has been awarded the opportunity of a community spay and neuter grant. Grant will be able to offer discounted spay and neuter services to residents within Montcalm County. The organization that awards the funding wishes to be anonymous, but you can see it in your packet if you would like. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I would move to approve the community spay and neuter grant agreement as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved and supported to approve the community spay and neuter grant agreement as presented. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next, starting on page 56 is budget adjustment requests, and seeing as that Brenda did them, she can talk about them.
Similar to previous years on this first adjustment, I found revenue sources or other adjusting expenditure lines that I could show a zero net adjustment. So pretty straightforward. If anyone has any questions about anything in particular.
All the changes up and down result in a net zero change to the overall budget.
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions? If not, I would move to approve fiscal year 2025 budget adjustments as presented.
Support. It's been moved and supported to approve fiscal year 2025 budget adjustments as presented. Discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, next up, warrants. Everybody's favorite part. Get to hear me rattle off a bunch of numbers. Starting on page 59 with warrant report number 03132025, the amount of $450,672.96. Next up, warrant report number 03202025 in the amount of $242,178.44. Lastly, warrant report 03242025 in the amount of $1,337,088.16 with a grand total of $2,029,939.56. I would move for approval and appropriate signatures.
It's been moved and supported to approve all three warrants totaling $2,029,039.56.
Yep, $2,029,939.56.
$9.39.
If the iPhone calculator is working correctly.
Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, next up is the consent agenda. There is items 8 through 11. One is Brownfield Authority minutes, Dodge report, COA report, medical examiner's report. If nobody has anything on those, I would move to place items 8 through 11 of the consent agenda on file. Support.
It's been moved and supported to place items 8 through 11 of the consent agenda on file. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, lastly, for your information, it looks like the Village of McBride thanked us for funding and Veterans Affairs Board and the recognition of the Bureau of Elections and Administrations in across the state of Michigan. I don't know if that's a spelling error or not, but that's all for your correspondence for Monday, March 24th.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Peterson.
Thank you.
Up next is committee reports, and we have one. It's the director hiring work session. Commissioner Peterson.
Okay. The Montcalm County Board of Commissioners work session commenced on Monday, March 10th at 3 p.m. It was called to order by myself, members present, Alexander, Johnston, Peterson, Painter, Mahar, and Murray. Members absent, Commissioner Carr, but he did show up late. Others present, Millard, Tater, Becker, Waldron. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the process for hiring directors of county departments. There was a lot of discussion. At the end of it, we directed our controller to finalize the document that she presented to us on the hiring and firing of directors within the county. And we were moved to adjourn at 3:30. I would move to place the minutes on file. Why are you looking at me so confused? Oh,
Got a change, but go ahead.
what?
I've got a change request, but go ahead and make that motion if you want to.
I did.
Okay, is there support? Support. Discussion. I'd like to clarify, I don't believe this was a full board committee. It was intended for 3 people. And so when we reflect on the members present, I think it should be the 3 people that were voted to be on that committee, just noted as members present. Everyone else can be listed as others present. But the fact that I was absent, I don't believe is accurate because I wasn't on that committee.
Correct. True.
So was it 4?
It was 4, yeah.
Yeah.
And who, just for clarification, who were the 4 that were?
It was Commissioner Murray, Commissioner Mahar, Commissioner Peterson, and Alexander.
Okay.
I forgot Mahar. I had the other 3 in my head. I thought it was a 3-member, but
Peter was on it for some reason.
There was a lot of confusion.
Okay, I'll
But-
correct that.
I would amend my motion to reflect that.
And then are you going to have them take action on this last motion, or are you going to do it after the minutes are approved?
I thought you said we wanted to approve the minutes first.
Well,
I
I
think
guess I
what we'd-
forgot that there was a motion in there.
what we'd typically done, it's been so long since we've had a committee, but the chairman of the committee would read the minutes and make
Make that
any
motion.
motions that were in that and then
Mhm.
ultimately place the minutes on file.
But I guess where I got confused was we made the motion to have Brenda make changes to the document
Correct.
that she presented, and then in our correspondence, she presented the finalized document, and that's what we wanted to approve. Does that work? Okay, so my motion will be amended to reflect the changes made to the attendance. If Commissioner Murray would like to support that.
I would support that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Discussion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, do you mind if I open up correspondence really quick again?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
On page, I don't remember what page. I should have been a little quicker on the ball before I open my mouth. On page 49 of your agenda, the hiring of appointed department directors and policy request. There is an attached final version of the ad hoc committee's recommendation for the hiring of appointed department directors policy. If no one has any discussion on that, I would move to adopt the hiring of appointed directors, department directors policy as presented.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Discussion. So this is a policy for hiring appointed directors. And the hoopla leading up to this was on a policy to fire appointed department directors. Okay, just so I'm clear. Discussion. Any other discussion?
It was kind of a combination. So we were hiring Pam without interviewing. That's kind of where it came to me.
That both were needed.
Yeah.
This only addresses one.
Well, we talked about the firing part of it, but every situation is so different that I'm going to reach out to, I think I did reach out to legal, but we've been peppering in pretty hard with stuff lately, to ask for recommendations on that.
Okay.
This is just the start down that road, and when we figure out the firing side of it, we'll go from there, I guess.
Okay. I think the idea behind it was if we had a hiring policy in place, there's more than just the hiring in here. There's a little bit too about the, how it all goes together. So I think that there's a little bit of guidance in there as well about, HR in general.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Motion carried.
Now that will be your correspondence.
All right, thank you. Up next is new business. Item 1, clerk correspondence.
I don't have anything.
2 is controller correspondence.
I got a couple of things. You'll note that memo I put on your desk, or that letter from the Village of Edmore on their DDA meeting in April. I'm going to try to attend that. They want to kick up their DDA capture from 60% to 80%. I believe that has to come to you, even regardless of what they vote to do. I think it has to come to you for final approval. So that's just to make you aware of it. For some reason, they mailed it to our accounting department instead of you guys. Stanton Old Fashioned Day has reached out to request to use the lawn again this year. And if you recall, we had them do a little agreement at the attorney's suggestion last year, and they're not opposed to doing that agreement again. They didn't end up doing it last year. I can't remember.
They were
what
going to do a
happened.
petting zoo, and then the petting zoo fell through or
Yeah, I
something.
think the petting zoo people backed out or something.
Yeah.
So this year, Sonny Haglund down in MSU Extension is going to be doing the petting zoo. So just that just came in on email today from them. Rave has requested to put up their little clothesline thingy in the hallway out there outside the prosecutor's office again this year. I have not talked to the prosecutor because he's out of state right now in training to see if he is okay in favor of that. I believe when we did the painting out there and repaired all the walls that Doug put up like a cork strip, because they made kind of a mess with text in the walls before. But so just to let you know, they've requested that for the month of April. Are you guys in favor of it? If the prosecutor and the maintenance director are in favor of it?
Isn't it our building?
Yeah.
So what do we care if the prosecutor is in favor of it or not?
I don't know. It's in his corridor. I don't know about that. Doug might have a problem with it just because of the
I don't think Doug has a problem with a
disrepair
lot
to
of
the
things.
wall. You better
Well-
get a spackle thing out then.
If he put a cork board up or what cork strip, I mean,
I'd want them to stay limited to that cork strip. I don't think I think we're beyond pushing pins in the newly healed wall.
right. I guess I just thought it was tape or
No.
3M hooks or something.
Something was taxed before in the past. So maybe it wasn't that particularly, but and then I received an email from PFN, which is Peninsula Fiber Network, seeking support for a grant. They want to submit for, I don't know if you've heard about the BEAD program, the Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Project across the state of Michigan. That kind of came out of COVID. That they are wanting to submit on behalf of 2,233 serviceable locations. So I'm going to say households on behalf of the county, but they would like a letter of support from the county to do that. So if you're in favor of me writing that letter of support, I can do that.
What's your pleasure?
I don't know enough about it. Does anybody know anything about it?
I don't have much of an opinion on it.
It's to bring greater connectivity to 2,233 homes.
Where?
In Tullyhar. In residents of Montcalm County. I mean, but specifically where in the county, I don't know.
Right. I guess we can support it. I don't know. I just don't know anything to that. Can
Which-
you ask them what, where and what and why and how?
Which company was it?
PFN, Peninsula Fiber Network. They actually bought out our phone company, Wintel. And I think Amy has them as a provider out at Central Dispatch.
Because I got an email just a couple days ago from Homeworks asking for the same thing. So I'm sure we all did, but
You're right. It sounds familiar.
so I don't know if they're
That's
all
1 year ago.
reaching out, but
Are those competing?
I don't know on that.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Homeworks has internet access.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I know
if- are they both competing for that same pot of money or?
Probably.
Did you say that was
Did
Bead?
they-
Bead. Yeah,
It's
this is
Bead?
Bead grant.
Okay.
But I mean, is it spelled out like territories for consumers operates here and Homeworks operates here? So if they both were awarded the grant,
Yeah.
they're working in separate places, or are they both rushing to the same spot?
Can tell you. Wednesday's the due date for this letter of support. 26th,
This one says the 25th.
which is tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. So it's not very helpful.
A lot of times with grants, if you're going for a state or federal grant, they have to have local support to even be considered. It's the way they roll. So it's for internet access, fiber optics.
I guess it's kind of difficult. I don't know what we're endorsing.
For them to apply for a grant to seek funding to put fiber optic lines in for 2,233 households in Montgomery County.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in if you can get it done by then. I think it's a good thing.
They gave us a template letter, so I just gotta throw it on our letterhead.
Do you want to endorse one of Homeworks as well?
I would. The more the merrier.
Just do them both regardless of whether they're competing?
That's what I would think, but
Yeah, I think that works.
Homeworks doesn't access too much of our county, really. They kind of go up the county line between Montcalm and Gratiot. I fall just inside of that. And then once it gets out of Montcalm, it kind of veers off, goes north further.
There's a ton of money.
Are there a lot over you?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if we're gonna do one, we ought to try and do them both. What is that? You wanna direct the controller to do that? Have a motion? What are you thinking?
yeah, I'll make a motion to direct the controller to send a letter of support to Homeworks and what was the other one?
Yeah.
PFN.
PFN.
You're gonna have to send me that email from Homeworks.
I will.
Because I didn't get
Yeah.
that.
Support. It's been moved and supported to have the controller draft a letter of support to both Homeworks Electric, Homeworks Tri-County, and PFN for their BEAD grant request with the feds, state or federal. Doesn't
I
matter.
don't know which it is.
Whoever.
Whoever.
Don't look again. State Department of Labor and Economic Development.
Okay. Discussion. If there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
That's all I got.
Number 3, chair or board correspondence. I've got one that's in the same vein as the one the controller just did. So Lakeview Fire is applying to congressionally directed spending through Senator Peters' office for new grass rigs for our department. And we need letters of support from entities, county and townships that we serve. So no strings, no money, just a letter of support that you support the project if you're so inclined.
Who's gonna sign the letter?
Controller, I guess. You, Vice Chairman.
I don't care.
Were you getting at it? Probably shouldn't be Pat.
It probably should be. He'd be signing the one from the fire department
Yeah.
and the one from the county. They might look at that a little funny.
I can understand. How, what's the date on that? Due date? You told me earlier.
Thursday or Friday. I should have it back to them.
I would make a motion to direct the controller to draft a letter of support for Lakeview Fire Department and obtaining grant funding for grass rigs.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Anyone else from the board have any correspondence?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Johnston.
after reading stuff on X, and I believe in the paper, our sheriff is going to cancel police contracts with different townships and stuff, like Crystal Township, I think Howard City is another one. And I just wondering, does he have the authority to do that without our approval when we have to approve the contracts to begin with? It just,
Didn't the controller, didn't you ask him something like that?
I did have conversation with him and asked him how he could do that. And you guys are the ones that have to prove him. And he said because he could. So I have emailed the legal to find out his opinion, send him one of the agreements. So I'm just waiting to hear back.
I mean, I'm not opposed to it happening. I mean, if we need to cancel those and put those people back into the regular force, but I just don't understand how he thinks he can go one way one time and then back out of it without our approval the next. I mean,
Well, after this was brought, not to interrupt, but after this was brought to my attention, I asked Brenda to see a copy of one of the contracts, and I believe it was with Reynolds Township. And it clearly states in there that they can do that with 90 days or 60 days, a period of time to terminate. But it doesn't say that the sheriff can do it. It doesn't say that the county can do it. It does say within that contract that it is a contract with the county through the sheriff's department. So I guess at the end of the day, to Commissioner Johnston's point, Pat's signature's on it, the sheriff's signature's on it, and the township supervisor's signature's on it. I don't believe that one person can do that. And in Crystal's area, they have a millage for it. I don't believe that's something that we should, I don't believe that's something we should just rip away and say, oh, well, have fun with your millage money. I think these townships and entities entered into contracts with our sheriff because they want that extra protection. Those citizens want that extra protection in their county or in their township. I don't believe that we need to be in the business of just ripping that away, but especially when it's just to develop a 24-hour road patrol that has not come to fruition in the last 5 years of a millage. I just don't, I don't like the move without discussing with the board when we did receive a letter that said, I'll bring amendments to the board, and then to hear, oh, well, we're just going to end it. I don't like it at all.
yeah, I don't either.
Well, and from what I've heard, at least one of the villages in my area, they were kind of given an ultimatum.
Three
Like,
options.
you have three
ultimately,
options.
Yeah. And none of
I
them
don't-
were as good as the 40 hours a week that they're paying for.
Yeah, no, yeah. For the village, it was drop one officer and they had, the three options, and none of them were to keep what they have
Right.
currently.
And I contest that this was the only pulse, the only heartbeat of the sheriff's office after the fallout. When we were in a nosedive, the only heartbeat that sheriff's office had for road patrol was these contracts. That's it. And so now that he has $2.5 million in fund balance and 5 to 6 deputies out of a millage that are supposed to support 14, we're chopping these root contracts off to make it appear that this millage is supporting a 24-hour road patrol. And I don't believe that's what this was all intended to do. I think it was going to be the townships had the option to keep the contracts, additionally add 14 more deputies. I just think this is a really not great look. And to Commissioner Johnson's point, just reading through the internet very quickly, it's not a great look. But I don't know the solution to any of this, because according to our controller, the sheriff has said I'm doing it because I can.
Didn't you say you emailed legal to see what they're saying about it? So I guess we can wait till the next meeting and see if we get a response back. And
That's what I wondered. Is that our first step to see what legal says, who has the authority to cancel it or not, and go from there?
I think so.
Well, like Howard City already ended theirs. So because they were pretty much given the ultimatum that you get a lower level of service or you get nothing. So they just decided to go with nothing and make sure that in the future, if the sheriff could get more help, that they want the contract back.
So if this was decided that these couldn't be taken away, I mean, Howard City would still be interested in the contract today if they had one to
Don't
forward
wanna-
to them.
Yeah, speak on their behalf, but that's definitely what it sounded like at the meeting.
Well, and again, Crystal has a millage just for this purpose, so I'd assume they would want to keep their coverage. I don't know Eureka, our Eureka rep isn't here, but I would assume they would probably want to keep that. I don't think it's a great look. I think this all could have been handled much differently.
That's gonna leave Crystal Township with some money that they can't spend on anything.
Right.
But police protection.
Does Eureka have a millage too?
That I don't know.
I think it said so in the paper, didn't it?
Our clerk says that they do. So according to the paper, it wasn't the paper that said that, excuse me. According to the email that we got from the sheriff, he said he's going to leave all but two. He didn't specify, or he's going to eliminate all but 2 out of 6.
Yeah.
So he didn't specify which 2 those would be, but it sounds like Crystal's already been told they're getting the axe. I can't imagine he'd want to give up any in Eureka because that gets the best face time for the brown cars. So I don't know. I just think it's not a great look. It's pretty devastating to the people that pay for those 40 hours and want to feel safe in their township, in their area. And now we're just saying, well, we'll get to you if we can. I don't know.
That was kind of what Crystal was told. I guess he said he'd try to make up some hours later on in the summer when they're busier. But, how can you do that? Either you got a contract or you don't.
Right. And that's just a handshake agreement. Maybe I'll be over there, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
And especially in the summertime with houses as close to the road as they are and close together as they are and garages being turned into living dwellings, like you need sheriffs over there. You got to have them over there. I don't know. It's not a good look. I know that the sheriff and I appear to be great friends, but this is just not something I'm in favor of at all.
Well, let's take a couple weeks to our next meeting, get legal's opinion on that. And in the meantime, we can think of maybe what some other options or strategy we need going forward then.
Navy SEALs.
Right.
6 of them.
Who would they report to?
Me. I would be the defense czar.
All right. Sign us up.
Yes.
All right. Any other board correspondence? If not, old business, we don't have anything. Public comments.
I would move to adjourn.
It's been moved and supported to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
This expires.
Yeah.
It's understood that everybody just saw those confidentials. You didn't really talk